There's an economist named John Maynard Keynes who predicted that his grandchildren by 2030 would work only 15 hours a week. Unfortunately, even after 90 years later, the average American works currently 34 hours per week. In the past, I've struggled a lot with getting things done.
And very shortly, I'm getting ready to almost start.
And it led me to be frustrated and a little bit hopeless in terms of trying to be the most productive self. So this is really where the journey that I entered into deep diving into some of the biggest productivity tips and talking to some of the biggest time management experts around the world. These are some of the lessons and some of the principles that I've learned that I'm going to be sharing with you today. First thing you want to figure out is, what is your one big thing? I got this concept from a book called The One Big Thing by Gary Keller. He built one of the biggest real estate agencies, taking this principle of asking yourself the simple question, which is, what is the one thing that you can do such that, if complete, it will make everything else easier or unnecessary? This is such a profound concept to me because it simplified what the 80-20 principle, which is that 80% of your results comes from 20% of your inputs, even to the next level. So now when you take a look at all of your goals, all of your tasks, all of your priorities for the day, for the week, for the month, really think carefully about what is the one thing based on the goal that you have that you need to do, that if you did it, will make everything else unnecessary. I'm a huge believer that most things don't really matter.
That's not necessary.
If there's anything that you take away from this video, remember that you need to really prioritize and think carefully about the one big thing that you need to do in any goal that you have. So if you're a business owner, if you're a designer, an engineer, an entrepreneur, think about what is that one feature that you need to build that will make your product 10x better. Think about what is the growth channel that you should focus on, that one big channel that will take your business to the next level. For us, let's say if we're trying to grow this podcast, what is the one big thing that a lot of people are getting attention from? Well, YouTube Shorts would be one of them. So this is something that our team is working on, where we are trying to push out as many YouTube Shorts as possible. And we know that is the one big thing that we need to focus on. So think about, what is that one big thing for you? The second thing that can be helpful when it comes to getting more things done is called bunching. Studies showing that humans make somewhere between 100 to 200 decisions per day. What happens there is you get into a lot of decision fatigue, and it disrupts a lot of the flow that can occur while you're doing the task itself. This is why some of the top leaders around the world, like Steve Jobs or Barack Obama, who would wear the same purple tie and the same suit. So one example of bunching could be that you do all of your tasks early in the morning that involves creativity work. And that allows you to shut off any phones, any distractions, and that really allows you to focus. Give yourself 2-3 hours to do design, to do brainstorming, to think about strategy. And the second part of bunching could be to do administrative tasks later in the day, such as answering emails, Slack messages, responding to your friends on social media. So even for myself, I do all of our podcast interviews on Fridays. For this video that I'm producing right now, this is also done on a Friday, because all of the lights, all of the cameras, not that we have a crazy setup here by any means.
It's not that bad.
Just having everything set up here just makes it a lot easier, and I can block out the entire day or a good part of the day and have that mindset to know that I'm going to be filming. So another interesting angle that I've heard from someone that does this is Jack Dorsey. He is the former CEO of Twitter and now the CEO of Square or Block.
And the way I found that works for me is I theme my days. So on Monday at both companies, focus on management. Tuesday is focused on product. Wednesday is focused on marketing and communications. Thursday is focused on developers and partnerships. And Friday is focused on the company and the culture.
Obviously, he runs 2 different companies, or he was at that time. But it's another interesting perspective that I thought I would share. The third productivity tip is constrain. Do you ever notice that when you have like 4 hours to do a task, but you know that the task is around 30 minutes to do, that you spend all 3-4 hours doing that task? Well, it turns out this is so embedded into human nature that there's an actual law for this called the Parkinson's law. And it was coined by a historian named Cyril Northcote Parkinson. And the whole idea there is that work expands to fill the time available for its completion. In his book, he shares the story of a woman whose only task in the day is to send out a postcard, which should take around 3 minutes for a busy person. but she spends 30 minutes trying to find the postcard, 60 minutes trying to look for her glasses, 20 minutes speaking with the postcard man, and on until the whole day was filled with just doing that task. And the general idea there is that if we give ourselves a certain amount of time to do a task, even if the task should take us less time, we're going to take as much time as we can, knowing the constraint of time that we have. An effective way that I found to combat this is what I call the Pomodoro technique. And the whole idea here is that you want to pick one task that you want to do over the next 30, 60, or 90 minutes and force yourself to take a break after that time has complete. So for example, let's say you want to answer emails. Well, you're only going to be able to answer emails for the next 20 to 25 minutes. And after that time has completed, you're going to give yourself 5 to 15 minutes of break time. That break is really important because it allows you to rejuvenate and avoid some of the burnouts and the fatigue that might happen. All right, best for last. So the last thing here that I want to talk about is saying no.
No, God! No!
I think it's in human nature for us to fill in our to-do list or to say yes when friends ask us to hang out or when people ask us for coffee. And the reality is, when I do look back, when I think about all of these small things that I tried to fit in, whether it's meetings or whether it's going for coffee or whether it's a new idea or project that I had that I could just try to fit in, a lot of these never really worked out or they never really moved the needle. I feel like I'm quoting Jack Dorsey a lot here, but one of the things that Jack Dorsey also does is he has a not to-do list. And these are simple things that could be happening throughout your day, throughout your week. And you just want to be able to remind yourself and make a list of all the things that you're not going to do. Because oftentimes we're very good at adding things to our to-do list, but we're not very good at subtracting the things that we shouldn't be doing. So one framework that I always look back to is the Eisenhower Matrix. It was popularized by Stephen Covey, who wrote the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and it was attributed to the 34th President of the United States, Dwight Eisenhower, who was really known for his high output and effectivity. So how does the Eisenhower Matrix actually work? Well, it's categorized and divided into 4 quadrants, the left side being the importance, and then the top side being the urgency. So if a task is important and if it's urgent, these are tasks that you want to do immediately. And maybe there's an emergency that's happening, or maybe there is a deadline that you need to complete. Those are things that you want to do. If they're not important, but it's urgent, ideally you want to figure out, especially if you're in a fortunate position to have an assistant or to have someone that's working with you, you want to figure out how you can delegate those things or use technology or tools that would allow you to automate some of these things or schedule it in advance. Tasks that are not important and not urgent, this is my favorite, is you want to say no. And last but not least, think about tasks that are important but not urgent. And oftentimes I find that these are tasks that are where you actually want to spend the most of your efforts and time, because a lot of the times these are biggest investments that you can do, things that aren't going to have an immediate payoff. So things that you want to think about long term, but are incredibly important. And these are things like building relationships, going to networking events, investing in yourself by taking a course, exercise or strategy and planning. Just want to summarize these 4 things that we talked about. Number 1 is to figure out what your one big thing is. Number 2 is to bunch things together. 3 is to constrain time. And 4 is to say no. All right, guys, hopefully you guys found that useful. Let me know in the comments below what your one big thing is for the week, for the month, for the year. Leave a like below. It really helps get the message out and to help the video seen by more people. All right, ciao, ciao.